Hi there everyone, Scapegoat Stephen back with another video match report. So this is another game from our Fan Ball League, now in our new venue. This is game number 3 I've got recorded. I have played 4 so far, unfortunately wasn't able to get one on film. That was a loss to the Blacksmiths, so for anyone keeping count, that is 2 losses, 1 win so far. 2 losses versus Blacksmiths and Morticians, 1 win versus Butchers, and today's game is going to be against Engineers. Right, so I won the dice roll and I elected to receive. So coming down the Engineers side, I've got Locust, Spade, Rivet, Ratchet, Velocity who's kicking, and Mainspring right down at the bottom left. I have Grace, Fangtooth, Veteran Rage, Coin, Benediction and Minx. So as you can see, that first kick goes horrifically close to Minx, so my opponent chooses to re-roll and gets a really good scatter. So it's going to be difficult for me to get that ball. I've got Minx and Grace on a flank respectively because I was worried about a wide kick, and both of them are the faster of the teams. I've played this team before into a similar opposing team, but instead of Locust there was someone else who escapes me. I'm confident in the list I have, especially now that Minx is such a better target. The idea is basically get the ball to Benediction. Benediction can pretty much hold that ball if he's in cover and braced against most Engineers teams, and then as they come in, just murder them with the Veteran Rage team. So Minx in the end, and ah, am I going to be able to axe throw and bounce back? Am I going to be able to? So I can't get close enough to pass to Benediction. So in the end, Minx will sprint, pick up the ball, and come backwards with it. She's in the cover. She then drops it as well behind herself, just to try and stop Velocity getting there. So my opponent ums and ahs about what he's going to do. You know, does he go in with Velocity to try and get that ball? But it's just that little bit. Like, you can get to Minx, but you can't get the ball. So you know, figures out what does he want to do, where does he want to go. In the end, he goes for Rivet. She sprints, pulls the rest of the team forward, bar Mainspring obviously because he's in this bottom left. Use this on Velocity for the 2-inch melee, and Elbow Grease on Locust. So I choose to activate Grace, and I want to leverage my threat range here with Grace with her speed buffs. So I'm going to jog her, put Quick Foot on Fangtooth, and Talisman Quick Foot on Rage. In hindsight, bad choice. I probably should have put Quick Foot on Benediction, but I was trying to see could he, if he brings someone in close enough, can I just straight up kill them? Mainspring jogs into the fast ground. Coin jogs, puts Bag of Coffers on Fangtooth. Ratchet will tool up Locust, then jog and Heroic on Locust. That's the thing where Locust can get a free charge or sprint. Benediction puts Stand Firm on Rage, braced on himself, and goes for a sprint over here just to block off more avenues to the ball with Velocity. So we figure out the Velocity can get to Minx, but she is going to be in Benediction's melee. So that kind of counteracts the bonus tack from Rivet for the crowd out, but then I'm in the cover. So I'm going to be a 4-1. He's going to be rolling, what, like 5 dice? Unless he charges. Oh, sorry, 4 dice even, unless he charges. So in the end, we decide to go with the dodge 2 and charge. Manages to get a momentous push dodge. This is acrobatics, sorry, for the dodge 2. Gets a momentous push dodge and then nothing on the follow-up attack. But is now out of Benediction's melee range and pushed Minx out of cover. And there's a nice little gap there for her to go through. So I and ah in my turn trying to figure out, can I even get anyone to anyone? Can I set up Rage to go in? Fangtooth to go into anyone? In the end, I decide no. So I will sprint Veteran Rage. I will quick time Benediction, so he is into melee with Velocity. I will Red Fury and get nothing. Excellent, good start. And I'll Red Fury and get a momentous double push. Spade will Diggy Hole, because, you know, she's a miner, and that's what they do. Sorry, not Diggy Hole. Whatever their normal place is called at the start of their turn. She does dig a hole. She will then... My opponent is trying to figure out who to go for. In the end, he decides to dig a hole, sprint, controlled explosion benediction to pull him out of melee with velocity. Good choice. And then he will diggy hole backwards because he wants to have a bit of safety, keep her out of threat range of Veteran Rage. I decide I'm not putting Fangtooth anywhere near his tooled up Locust, so I just sprint, a bit of a waste of influence. Locust will sprint with Overclocked, and he will shoot Veteran Rage. Does 2 damage and a 2-inch push to end the turn. So very cagey, not a lot going on there. We both have a single point of momentum. My opponent plays Seize the Initiative, and I play Grudge Match. Should be noted, my cards here, I think Grudge Match is my highest ranking card that I had. So, not the greatest. Both of the singled outs go on Velocity and Benediction respectively. Benediction is in cover. Velocity is not. We also seize both Velocity and Benediction with their 4-inch dodge. So Velocity is going to attack Benediction. I'm going to declare poised. She does 1 damage. I get a counter attack and get a single push. So yeah, we both rolled pretty badly. He does a second attack and gets a momentous push dodge. He then sprints and goes for a shot. I think actually what happened is he also declared acrobatics. So strictly speaking, we spent 1 too much influence with Velocity, but she would have just been outside of tap-in and still scored anyway with the dice she rolled. She should have been perhaps closer towards my my dice tray perhaps, and then dodges behind the cover. That bit probably is important, the bit where he hides behind the cover. But it's 4-0 to the Engineers. I activate Coin. I Bag of Coffer's Fangtooth and jog to engage Velocity. Nice and simple. Ratchet will tool up Locust. Grace will jog. She will Quickfoot, Rage and Fangtooth. Sends a pattern here, don't we? Rivet will jog, and I believe she just sort of goes and pulls Ratchet away, just so that he's not anywhere in the danger zone. She's going to go over there, and Ratchet's going to get dragged along with her. So Minx, again, she's a bit far out of the action, so she's going to go for a jog. I can't quite get there to throw an axe at Spade, which is a shame. So I just jog, throw an axe at Mainspring, snare him, do some damage, so it's 3 damage, and then I back to the shadows between 2 of my own players and snap that ball so that it is on one of my team. Spade will dig. She debates about who she does the controlled explosion on. So obviously because it targets herself, it's not going to trigger resilience. So she digs, jogs that tiny inch, controlled explosions on range to push him backwards, and diggy holes backwards herself. Benediction puts Sturdy on Rage, puts Braced on himself, and goes for a bit of a jog. Is after I see, can Rage actually get in range to do anything? The answer is no. No, he can't. Unfortunately, there's a lot of people being just out of each other's threat range here, and a lot of jockeying. And this is the reason I like Grace and Minx actually for Mark Target in Union at the moment. In the end, Mainspring will go for a jog. My opponent does consider whether or not Locust goes into Fangtooth, but given I've got Rage sat there, that will be an absolutely terrible idea, which he correctly identifies and doesn't do. I then make a mistake here. I should not have triggered here and gone into my opponent with Fangtooth. I should have backed off with Fangtooth and gone after Velocity. So Fangtooth heroics himself as well, so he damages himself. Jogs base to base with a cover and attacks Spade. Gets a momentous knockdown, and nothing on the second attack. Excellent. And then a momentous 2 up to 3 because of the heroic. Locust uses his overclock to sprint for free, runs around the back of that cover, and obviously, I think he actually has the 2-inch melee at the moment as well. Apologies from Rivet that I forgot to mention. He attacks, pops resilience. He attacks, momentous knockdown. Then attacks again, momentous 3, and attacks a final time for a momentous 3. So Fangtooth takes a little bit of damage. Rage, quick times grace, so she's out of the way, so he can effectively charge velocity, which he does. He gets a momentous 2 and a push, followed by a momentous 2 and another push to get her out of cover. I then remember I've got this heroic thing that means I can do more damage, so I do that. Get momentous 3 up to 4 and a push, and then I finally choose a knockdown on my last attack. I know I can't kill her. I'm just setting her up for the top of the next turn. So Fangtooth's a little bit sitting out there on his own. Again, poor choice on my part. Again, this shows you how low my cards are. I have to play midfield general here. So we've both got 4 momentum. My opponent plays go for the knees and puts it on Locust, so he gets +1 attack. I play midfield general. That 3 was my highest card left in my hand. I must admit, this is the first time I've had those sort of issues with the card game plan deck in the last, year it's been out. I'm looking forward to the new game plan deck as it happens. I'll be interested to see what shake-up occurs because of that. So yeah, my opponent's going to take initiative, quite rightly, because he wants to get rid of Fangtooth. So he's going to activate Ratchet. Ratchet will go for a jog and tool up Locust. Park himself there. He also drops Blast Earth. Mistakenly, he thought that it took off Fangtooth's resilience at this stage. I explained, obviously, because Blast Earth doesn't target it, that's not how it works. But in the end, he went for it anyway because it does the 2 damage. Fangtooth will clear conditions on himself just to make sure that he can stand up, and then attempt to jog away later after he's finished making some attacks. Bear in mind, Locust at the moment has 1-inch melee and Spade is knocked down, so he is not engaged by anyone. He does attack Spade and does 1 damage. He attacks Spade again, does a momentous 2, and attacks Spade a final time and does 1 damage. So he generates a whole single point of momentum. He jogs 3 inches because of the Blast Earth and midfield general, stays in cover, and then I don't heal him with my 1 remaining point of momentum, which was a mistake on my part. I should have done that. More fool me. Spade is going to stand up. She controlled explosions Fangtooth back in, attacks him to pop resilience, and then attacks him 2 more times for a 1 damage and a momentous push dodge. Rage attacks velocity. Oh no, not quite yet. I'll try and figure out who I'm going to go with next. Can I get anyone? Can I pass the ball to Fangtooth? Can I dodge Fangtooth back to pull the enemy towards my lines? In the end, I decide, shall I heal? Shall I heal with Grace? Shall I do some healing? In the end, I decide actually healing through momentum is the better option here because it gets me the 4. So I'm trying to figure out how do I get that momentum. It's going to be velocity. You know, she's right there. That's the right play, at least for this particular moment in time. Unfortunately, I can't even get Rage close enough to quick time Fangtooth back a little bit either. So in the end, Rage is going to attack velocity. He'll kill her to reanimate her, or not kill her, but do enough damage to reanimate her, which is a momentous 2, I believe. He then buys an attack momentous 2, buys an attack momentous 2. That takes us to 4-2 after the takeout. He's then going to charge towards Mainspring with his Furious, spend 1 to dodge Minx 2, and heal Fangtooth by 4. Locust is going to jog, and he's going to start punching Fangtooth. So he gets a momentous 3, a momentous 4, a momentous 3, and a momentous 3, which just takes out Fangtooth to the single HP that he needed. So if I had healed with Fangtooth earlier, he'd still be alive. More for me. That makes it 6-2 in favour of the Engineers. So I jog coin and I bag of coffers Benediction. Rivet's going to sprint and gives, I believe, mainspring 2-inch melee just because he can. Benediction will charge Locus. I am aware of Gravity Well, so I'm going to put myself the other side of mainspring so that I don't get pulled into Locus's melee. And it's one of those things to bear in mind when you're fighting against models with Gravity Well. It's using their models against themselves. I get a momentous double push on that charge and just push him a little bit closer to Minx, because Minx likes the look of him, and obviously Rage for the top of next turn. Mainspring Jog staying in Benediction's melee. Minx is just going to drop the ball behind her, and she's going to jog to Locus. Locus does declare a counter-attack. I do a momentous 2 with a single dodge and snare him. The counter-attack back just does 2 damage. I do a momentous 3 down to 2, sorry, because he's got tough hide, followed by a momentous 3 down to 2 because of tough hide, and a momentous 2 down to 1 because of tough hide. Grace uses Talisman to heal Rage, I believe, once I finish these attacks with Minx, apologies. Basically, just about getting some damage and setting up Locus to be killed at the top of the next turn. I've still got Rage's Legendary in the bag. So there we go with Grace. She's going to jog to snap the ball and jog back that way, and then she uses her aura, her talisman, for the free heal on Rage. So we are 3 momentum for the Engineers, 8 to the Union. I play Keep the Ball Moving. Engineers play Hunker Down. I have initiative. Ooh! That's, is that the first and only time in this game I might have initiative? We'll find out later. My opponent also, as you may notice, so Velocity is not placed particularly well when she's put back on the board. I think he just put her there to remind himself he was going to bring her on here. He also then completely and utterly forgot to jog her. So, again, it's one of those things that sometimes in the heat of the moment, you get distracted. So, Veteran Rage. I wonder what I'm going to do here. Rage is going to Legendary, and he's going to charge Locus. Locus declares no reaction because I've got a knockdown on 3. I do a momentous 5, thank you Legendary, down to 4 because of tough hide, followed by a momentous 4 down to 3, followed by a momentous 4 down to 3, which reanimates him, followed by a momentous 5 down to 4 to take him out. So that makes it 6-4 in favour of the Engineers. As you can see, there's a bucket ton of dice coming in. He isn't in cover, but he does have a friend. I've got the Legendary. I've got 2 friends ganging up. All goes horribly wrong for Locus, as you'd expect, really, from Veteran Rage. I then Quick Time Benediction, just so he's engaging a couple of models. Spade places Diggy Holes, and then sprints in and buys an attack on Grace. He was debating just straight up charging, but I think in the end it proved to be mathematically like a defensive stance and it wouldn't be great for him. So he goes in, sprints, gets a momentous tackle. Coin jogs to engage Spade and bag a Coffer's Fangtooth. Ratchet is going to drop a Blast Earth because I've got 3 models all stacked right next to each other in a nice hole, and tools up Rivet. He does hit all 4 of the models that are under that template: Rage, Benediction, Minx, and Mainspring. Excuse me. So it's 2 damage for everyone. It's only a little bit. It's a bit of chip damage, but obviously it sets up for later in the turn, especially with Rivet coming in. Benediction will jog and attack Rivet. He will score a momentous braced on the first attack, momentous 2, and then he'll attack with bonus time and get a momentous knockdown, and then he will do a follow-up momentous 2. So it's just generating me a ton of momentum at the moment. Rivet's going to clear knockdown and jogs to attack Benediction. I poised for my counter-attack. His attack does nothing. My counter-attack with bonus time, I choose 2 damage rather than pushing her, and I can't remember what the theory was here. I probably should have just literally nudged her back a tiny inch so she was out of melee range, but she could have used this, I guess, maybe. Well, he continues to attack, does 2 damage to Benediction, does a knockdown, a momentous 3, a momentous 3, and a push. So if I stand Benediction up, I am still in the 2-inch melee, because he was at the edge of his 1, I was at the edge of my 1. Job's a good one. So Minx clears conditions on Benediction, glides, and then sprints. More for me. I could have jogged actually when we measured it out. And buys an attack on Rivet. Obviously, I'm in the legendary range as well, so I'm getting extra dice and extra damage. So I'll do a momentous 3 up to 4, dodge and snared, followed by a momentous 3 up to 4, followed by a momentous 3 up to 4. So that's 12 damage into Rivet, and she's snared, which puts her at a 2-2, which I think I then forget next turn. More for me. Velocity sprints and then attacks. Gets a momentous push dodge off on Minx, followed by a momentous push dodge on the second one. Again, just generating momentum at this stage. Grace jogs into range of the Veteran Rage Legendary, and I think attacks Spade but doesn't get anything. Probably should have activated Fangtooth first for the knockdown. But then we're going with Fangtooth, heal base to base, Spade, and do a momentous knockdown. So the Engineers have 7 momentum, and I have 8. My opponent plays Lone Striker. Yep, that's right, you have both 7s. And I play Keep Your Chin Up for some healing. So as you can see, if anyone who's played against Spade before will know, she's in a prime position to score a goal. He does, of course, need momentum. Not too difficult to get for Spade, though. So Spade's going to spend her movement to stand up. She then places, places, then spends a movement to stand up. She attacks Grace, gets nothing. Attacks Grace, gets a momentous dodge to snap the ball. Makes another attack, gets nothing. And then finally takes a shot on goal and scores it, which obviously she would. She's Spade. And she's not engaged. There's no one blocking the ball path, so you would highly expect that to be a goal. 10-4. 10-4 to the Engineers. So the ball scatters, pretty much lands right at Fangtooth's feet, so he says he'll have it. Minx. Rivet is on 1 HP, so Minx attacks Rivet, misses a second time. Gets a momentous 1 finally on the third attack and gets the takeout for 10-6. She then hits Velocity and gets a momentous 1 damage, dodge and snared on Velocity. Velocity then pummels 4 attacks into Minx, 1 damage, 1 damage, 1 damage and 1 damage. And at the end of the in the last attack I declare a counter attack and hit her back for 2 damage. Benediction goes, he attacks Mainspring, does a non-momentous 1, does nothing, then spends 2 to heal Minx 4 and jogs. So I think at this stage Mainspring might be on 1 HP. So Ratchet will tool himself up and throw a Blast Earth, which misses Grace, but principally there to stop Rage going into Spade. Now I make another mistake here. Rage should have gone after Spade. I should have just gone and killed her. She's a threat to the ball, would have saved me a lot of time. Instead, I kill Mainspring, takes me up to 10-7. I then clear conditions, heroic on myself and charge Velocity. Velocity does declare a counter attack. I get a momentous 2, 1 up to 2 on the charge. Counter attack does 1 damage. A momentous 1 up to 2, a momentous 1 up to 2, a momentous 1 up to 2. And I heal Benediction by 4. I do take her out, which takes us to 10-9. Locust jogs and attacks Rage. Gets a momentous knockdown, a momentous 2, a momentous 2, and 1 damage. Grace will then go for a jog. And it's all me now. So Coin will also go for a jog. Bag of Coffers self, because I was a fool and didn't activate him first and give it to Grace, and does nothing. Fangtooth will jog, get a momentous knockdown on Spade, followed by a momentous 2 and a momentous 2. So that puts us, momentum-wise, on Engineers 4, Union 6. And I didn't write down which cards we played, but it turns out the Engineers had the other 6. So yeah, they had both 7s and one of the 6s. I played something that was a 3 that escapes me. So he wins initiative 10-9. Basically, this was the huge moment. Again, me making that mistake of not going and killing Spade. Perhaps making the assumption that I could have killed Spade with those other models and failed miserably to do it. She isn't on a huge amount of health. If I'd won initiative, Fangtooth would have killed her. Straight up. There was no denying that one. So Spade's going to place, stand up, smack to pop resilience, smack to get a momentous tackle, smack for 1 damage, shoots as a tap in, scores the goal, 14-9 in favour of Engineers.